And I think the world is changing so much more quickly than most of the people in this country understand. And it's because there's virtually no coverage of the rest of the world. And so, the most gold that the central banks have ever bought over the last 2 years. But one thing that we're not talking enough about is silver. And I'll just use India as an example. We know India bought 304 million ounces of silver last year, a huge amount. Well, they bought 60 million ounces in October and 20 million ounces in November, and that's just what we know about.
In today's insightful segment, financial expert Andy Schectman delved into the evolving landscape of global economics, highlighting a significant shift where central banks are increasingly investing in commodities, moving away from the traditional stronghold of the U.S. dollar. Schectman emphasized the global trend towards favoring tangible assets like gold and oil over less transparent debt instruments, signaling a broader move towards financial transparency. Further, he underscored the growing influence of the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, noting their rising prominence in shaping global economic policies. Schectman expressed concern over the American media's limited coverage of these crucial developments, pointing out how this gap in reporting adversely impacts public awareness, especially among the youth. The discussion also covered the pressing issues of inflation and government fiscal strategies, with Schectman advocating for the necessity of accessing diverse information sources to gain a comprehensive understanding of these complex, interconnected economic phenomena. Now, we'll show you clips of Andy. Make sure to watch the video to the end and check the pinned comment for some massive sign-up bonuses. Enjoy the video.
The country of India has bought nearly 400 million ounces of silver in the last 2 years. The legitimacy of what these countries are doing should not be overlooked, and it's serious. And again, if all we do is look at price and listen to the Western media, we will ignore all of this. But I just want people to know that this is why people are missing so much of what's happening, because the media is not telling us what's happening over there. That's what I'm focused on, and troubled more so maybe by what's happening here. But you put the two together and it becomes very serious. And so I think as 2024 is upon us, my main focus will continue to be what's happening over there, but never losing sight of what's happening here, and putting them together in a context where they all start to make sense, I think is something that I look forward to doing, but something that hopefully we can wake up some people's eyes who are very well read, just maybe reading the wrong stuff. Well, that what the Fed just did was signal victory against inflation. Yet they're signaling, in my opinion, they're waving the white flag, and here they are with the CPI showing 4% on inflation. Yet their target is 2%. So they're stopping their assault on inflation when they're still only half the way there, reigniting perhaps inflation. And I think it's an ominous sign. To me, it is not something to be celebrated. It's something to be very, very concerned about. And when you look at John Williams of Shadow Stats, he'll tell you, even using the 1990 adjustment to the CPI, not even the 1980 where the numbers were more accurate, we're still at 8% on the 1990, 10% on the 1980 measurement of inflation. So when you talk about going the other direction, pivoting and up to 3 cuts in 2024, we're a long ways away from their target. It seems to me they're giving up on inflation. They're doing what all governments have done, choosing the printing press over austerity. And there's even dissension amongst the ranks in the Fed, where the other John Williams, not the one from Shadow Stats, but the Fed economist, says, it's actually irresponsible for us to be thinking about cuts in 2024. We still need to make sure that we've got a hold on inflation. So there's there's misinformation, and then there's just complete, flat out being wrong. And they've been wrong on inflation for the last 2-3 years. First, there was no inflation, and then it was transitory, whatever that meant. Then it was structural. Then we've got it licked, and now maybe we don't. And the bottom line is that you can't rely on the information we're being given from any of these entities that are supposedly giving us the scoop. And I think you have to kind of take a step back and see what the biggest players in the world are doing. And the biggest players are the central banks who are massively de-dollarizing and buying commodities. And I think that's kind of the thrust that fits hand in glove what Zoltan Pozsar said. We are heading into a new era based on commodities and transparency, not opaque debt instruments and promises that seem to fall short. And I just think that this is something that will be a very, very pervasive theme in 2024, and look forward to continuing to follow it with you.
For the past 3 years, there has been a big problem with the silver market. More people want to buy silver than there is silver available to buy. This means we have to use up the silver that's already been mined and stored away. This problem keeps happening because there are growing demands for silver in technology and industry, but we can't produce enough silver to keep up. There's an organization called the Silver Institute that keeps track of all this. They say that in 2023, we had 140 million ounces, about 354 tons, less silver than we needed. This comes after 2 years of shortages in 2021 and 2022, totaling 334 million ounces. The situation is made worse because silver mining isn't increasing to meet the high demand. In fact, it's decreasing in some places. This means we need to find more silver sources to make up for the shortage. People are worried about where all this silver is going to come from in the future. We have some silver stored in places like London, but that might not be enough. The Silver Institute says we have about 1 year's worth of silver mining stored in London. But a lot of that silver is owned by other people, so we can't use it to meet demand. Other countries like China are also seeing a decrease in their silver stocks. This means the world is using up its silver faster than we can find new sources. So the big question is, how long can we keep going like this before there's not enough silver left? And will the price of silver go up because of this shortage? We'll have to wait and see. Now we'll show you clips of Andy Schectman discussing his insights and experiences on gold and silver. But first, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, as everything helps with the algorithm. Enjoy.
The United Nations Summit on Climate Change. Great. So, the gentleman presiding over it is the head of the state-owned United Arab Emirates oil company. They make that announcement 2 days before 200 delegates show up in the country. Big announcement. We agree on that, I believe. But one of the things that happened subsequently that I find very interesting, and I'm not sure if we touched on this or not. If we did, forgive me. If not, maybe for those who haven't heard it, I think it's very interesting. And that is that an impromptu meeting by Putin happened a day or two after the summit ended. And that's relevant to me because, look, you had Putin flanked by 4 Russian MiG fighter jets make an impromptu unannounced meeting to Dubai right after the summit ended, right after they, United Arab Emirates told the world we're not going to take dollars for oil going forward. And then goes directly, and it's a big deal because, look, Putin hasn't left the country more than twice in the last few years because of the American or Western bounty on his head. So, he flies to the UAE right after this announcement, right after the meeting. When you put it in context with Gaddafi and Hussein, who made similar announcements, is it coincidental or not? And then goes directly from there to Saudi Arabia, where OPEC then announces an increase in their $1.1 million or 1.1 million barrel per day reduction to 2 million plus barrels per day reduction. Is it all coincidental, or are all of these things lining up and gaining more and more mass, critical mass, velocity? And I think the answer, at least in my mind, is yes, they are gaining critical mass. And so I just wanted to touch on that in terms of the BRICS. That to me was the most noteworthy thing. I did want to also mention that we have a list, and I'm just gonna touch on them. And I've prepared for maybe another interview what each one of these countries has to offer. But I'm going to run through the list of the 20 known applicants to BRICS. Another 20 have formally applied, and they are as follows: Afghanistan, Algeria, Bangladesh, Bolivia, Cuba, Ecuador, Indonesia, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, Nicaragua, Nigeria, Pakistan, Senegal, Sri Lanka, Sudan, Thailand, Turkey, Uruguay, Uzbekistan, and Venezuela. Now, the common theme to all of these countries, by and large, is natural resources. Many of them are untapped. Lots of them are very natural resource rich or offer also key shipping and transport lines or routes. And the term logarithmic decay applies here too. Little by little by little by little. Many of these countries in and of themselves wouldn't amount to much, like Venezuela, right? They have the world's largest known oil reserves, the largest in the world. And so when you talk about these countries that are all signing on, there's another 20 that we're not sure of yet that have informally applied. Heck, by next summer, you could see as many 40 applicants or more to the BRICS and gaining massive critical mass or adoption as the crypto space lately. And, I was even just, I don't know what I was watching where I saw it, but as far as the post office is concerned, you have I think I was watching like the morning news on Fox, and they were saying that in order to get Christmas gifts sent across the country, you have just until like the end of this week to guarantee that the post office gets it there before Christmas. So that's what happens. They get so overwhelmed that their guarantees of 2-day or overnight, they're not so much a guarantee at this time of the season. It's a hope, but typically with that kind of volume, it's not going to happen. So
what do you think of today's show? Do you agree with Schectman and his gold and silver predictions for 2024? Post in the comment section your price prediction for the precious metals sector on the upcoming year, and share this video with someone who needs to stack more gold and silver. Thanks for watching the video till the end, and I see you on the next one.